Regional elections in Germany, specifically in Saxony and Thuringia this weekend. What are the indicators for future elections? The rise of the AfD in the far left, anti-immigrant, anti-EU and green movements. Pro-Russian, perhaps. Is this horseshoe politics German style, where extreme right and left meet? Join me, Darasz, for How We Got Here.
As Germany heads into the final stretch before the upcoming elections, the political landscape is seeing a significant upheaval. Recent polls indicate a surge in support for the far-right Alternative for Germany party, positioning them as a formidable force in the political arena. Although only the residents of two East German states, Saxony and Thuringia, will go to the polls on September 1st, the whole country will be watching their political choices. The ruling coalition, led by Chancellor Olaf Scholz, is facing mounting challenges. The Social Democratic Party and its allies are striving to maintain their grip on power amidst growing public discontent and fragmented opposition. The Green Party and the Free Democratic Party are also vying for influence, each presenting their vision for Germany's future. Economic concerns, immigration policies, and climate change remain pivotal issues for voters. The AfD's rise is attributed to their strong stance on immigration and national sovereignty, resonating with a significant portion of the electorate. AfD has made opposition to renewable energy projects a central theme of its campaign. It aims to secure its first electoral victories by appealing to rural voters who are increasingly frustrated with the federal government's push towards renewable energy. Despite leading in the polls with around 30% support in these states, however, the AfD is unlikely to form a government due to other parties' refusal to enter coalition with it. However, the party's growing influence could slow down the implementation of renewable energy projects, potentially jeopardizing Germany's green transition goals. As the election date draws near, political analysts predict a highly competitive race, with potential coalition negotiations becoming crucial in determining the next government. The outcome of this election will undoubtedly shape Germany's political landscape for years to come.
I'm delighted to welcome our guest today, Sergej Sumlenny, the Director of the European Resilience Initiative Centre. Welcome to the programme.
Thank you for having invited me today.
Great to have you. Upcoming German elections, or upcoming regional elections in Saxony and Thuringia. When I read about these two regions of former East Germany, Eastern Germany, I get the impression that they are failing regions. The economy is not there, no industry, people are leaving the big towns. Can you give us a picture of these two these two regions on which we're going to have these elections at the weekend?
That is a very interesting thing which you have pointed out. The regions live much better, incredibly better than they used to live under the GDR and the communist rule. If you look at the sums of volume of economic support, it's over 1 trillion euro which have been invested into East Germany since the reunification of Germany. And even if you compare photos of the same city, it can be the capital or it can be a smaller city. If you just compare them, 1988 and 2024 or 2010 even, you cannot recognize it. You see good streets, you see renovated houses, you see solar panels, you see good cars, you see all businesses open. The environmental situation is much better. The businesses are still there, but people have a deeper feeling, and that is the most important thing, that they have been betrayed and their good life has been stolen.
By whom? Who are they?
By some Western capitalists or anyone. And what is important, this feeling is being shared even by those who were born after the GDR. And that is very interesting because on one hand, on all economic numbers, data, you will see the life is not just better, it is incomparably better. But there is still gap in income in the West and in the East. And it's still the gap in social payments, in salaries, in pensions, and that gives people a feeling that they are not welcomed in the country.
Passing on of the this dissatisfaction from the East onto a generation whom you say has got increasingly, incomparably better standards of living. Why do they still have this feeling of alienation or dissatisfaction? Is it just a rebellion against an elite in Berlin? What's the centralization against the provinces? Is it that's this sort of dynamic?
Of course, there is this radicalization against Berlin. Like they don't listen to us, which is once again, it's very strange to explain it with logic. Germany is a federal republic. And Eastern German regions don't have a lot of population. It's about like less than 1/3 of the whole German population. But there are 6 regions in Eastern Germany, and each region is being represented in the upper chamber. So Saxony, Thuringia, Saxony-Anhalt, Brandenburg, and Mecklenburg-Pommern, they have all much stronger representation statistically compared to their population and to their economy impact. But still they feel to be somehow betrayed. What is interesting, I think we need to look into details here and what moves people to that feeling. If you look at the demographic structure of the West Germany and the East Germany, you will see that the share of male to females is quite different in the East, because German women turn to be much more mobile than the men. And during the first years, when the border for the first time was open and you could just go and work whatever you wanted, a lot of women moved to the West. Mm-hmm. So in some regions in the East, there are not enough women, and when I say not enough, really not enough, to create couple with every man. So for many men, they live in a situation when they know they will maybe never in their life have a permanent partner. And who has taken our women? They say, okay, the bad people in the West, so let's hate them. And I think it's like subconscious, but it makes a real impact. And of course, there is this alienation towards the capital. But in Germany, it's not that big because Berlin is a poor capital. It's maybe the only case in the West when the capital is much poorer than some provinces like Bavaria or Northern Rhine-Westphalia or Lower Saxony. But what is interesting, the pandemic, the COVID pandemic, has impacted a lot this alienation, because many people, especially in Saxony and in Thuringia and in these regions, they were absolutely not agree with the limitations of the pandemic. And that helped these structures to take their form and to say, we really need to form our own form of protest. And we need to rethink, and that was really, really weird, because the experience of how the GDR people pushed out the communists by their demonstration was rethought and turned into a way of uniting people against democracy in these Monday demonstrations, which were linked to tradition of the GDR anti-government demonstrations.
How does this impact this very fascinating demographic structure and how the political alienation, all that stuff? How does that impact the rise of these two main parties, or two far-right parties, the AfD and the BSW, the far left? Are they two sides of the same coin, or do they appeal to different sectors of society? Former disaffected communists on the one hand, to the Wagenknecht party on the one hand, and the AfD to the aristocracy, shall we call them. Is that the broad direction of these two parties? Have they got more in common, do you think?
I would say that they're pretty much similar. Of course, they have different ways of the rhetorics, for example, regarding the migration. Although Bloc Zara Wagenknecht is now, and Zara Wagenknecht in person is since several years, extremely anti-migrant, which is hard to expect normally from a leftist politician, but she's extremely anti-migrant. And like she claimed all the time that migration is the reason why people getting poorer, because migrants take their property and get the housing, etc., which normally you hear from the far right. But what is interesting, In foreign policy, they're absolutely the same. Anti-the US, anti-NATO, pro-Putin, pro-Russia, anti-Ukraine, etc. You can exchange their posters and you will see no difference.
Does this mean they're pro-German above all? Onto this, onto that.
As a German citizen, I can hardly accept the idea that anyone who sides with Putin is pro-German, because Putin clearly sees Germany, my country, as an enemy and does anything to undermine our economy and our political system. But their rhetoric is, yes, it's populist isolationist. So if you want, to some certain extent, they are German MAGA movement, which doesn't use the logic argument but exploit the feeling of being betrayed. We need to come back to our needs. We don't care what happens in the neighboring countries. We need to do our stuff. And that resonates very much to the mindset of many people in East German province who say, okay, enough of Europe, enough of everything, enough of these things. We need to do our job done.
As we come to the end of our fascinating discussion, how do you see these elections playing out for these two parties? You showed us statistics before we came in. They've got a huge chunk of popularity. Do you see them increasing their popularity, or over 50%, and the established parties are almost in single figures? Is this going to keep on widening in these two regions?
I think it is going that direction. Look, we have the AfD, far-right party, the most popular party in the East. In the West, it's the second popular party, one may not forget it. But in the East, it's the most important, most popular party. And we have Bloc Zara Wagenknecht, which is also like 20% in Thuringia, for example, according to the polls, plus 14% of the left party, which was practically the substrate for Bloc Zara Wagenknecht. Yes. So all three combined, it's two-thirds, like 64%. If you look at the coalition party of the federal government, none of them most probably will go into parliament at all. Maybe the SPD, Scholz party, will manage because they have volatile numbers between 4% and 6%. And more to say, the Christian Democrats in Thuringia, they're not the same Christian Democrats as in, let me say, in Rhineland-Pfalz or in Rhineland-Palatinate or in Northern Rhine-Westphalia. They're much more pro-Putin and pro-Russia. So you see a situation where you practically you have a formally democratic CDU there in Thuringia, but they also tend to that side. And you have anti-democratic parties who clearly cannot be seen as trustful partners, and they have a democratic support of almost two-thirds of the population. And then, of course, the governmental parties and the established parties say, okay, what have we done wrong? Well, maybe everything. Maybe everything, because this movement was seen. First, the AfD got to parliament. Then they got up to 30% in certain electoral districts, like Bitterfeld-Wölfen, where solar panel factories went bankrupt. Then they installed the first major. Okay, the first attempt to install a major has failed because all other parties have united, like a French relations, everyone against Marine Le Pen.
Yes.
But it was like the desperate attempt to prevent them. Then they installed the mayor, finally. And now they are one step from installing a prime minister. And if it will be in Thuringia, it will be a prime minister who is a convicted person because he used Nazi slogans in Germany.
Seems to be a well-trodden path coming from the fringes of politics into the mainstream and for real power from both right and left. Sergej Sumlenny, thank you very much for coming onto the programme.
Thank you so much for having invited me today.
Great to have you. So that's all. Do join us next time for How We Got Here.